Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have Svetlana Zhitnisky, co-founder of RSR Creations, creator of Trivae. Welcome, Lana.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks so much for having me on tonight.
You're welcome. It is a pleasure. As you can see, I skipped your name there. I was like, you know what? Now I'm going to start calling her Lana tonight.
Not a problem. Trust me. I grew up going by Lana, and it's not unusual. A lot of people have lots of problems pronouncing my full name, especially. But you gave it a try, so that was good. Give bonus points for that.
Okay, well, that's good. I look. The key thing is getting it right is usually the question here. But I'm glad that I got through. I'm sure some of it so properly. But anyway, but it's a pleasure having you on tonight. Could you please just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, so I am a business owner for the last couple of years, small business startup in product development. I grew up in Philadelphia and, spent some time working in New York in the finance sector and accounting. And, in the back of my head, I've always had these entrepreneurial aspirations. And, long story short, I decided that, it's now or never. And, I need to really pursue them if I'm going to just keep thinking about it. So in the name of living life with no regrets, I kind of took the plunge into entrepreneurship a number of years ago and, brought this company to market and, got into the product development business. Wow. And it's taken quite a few years to get to this point. And it's not a journey that I took by myself. I have a business partner and my sister, who's also an inventor of the product Trivae that, you mentioned at the start, and it's been a real journey. I have to tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I bet it has. But you originally, I kind of will backtrack a little bit. You're not originally from here. You came to the U.S. How old were you? You're actually from Ukraine, correct?
I am. Yes, I was 10 when I came here with my family. So from that point, I lived in Philadelphia and grew up there. Went to school there, and then that was my introduction to the United States was in that region.
Right. Wow. That was a huge difference, I'm sure, at that age.
Absolutely. There's lots of things you have to learn starting over in your life. And, for me, it's not as, not as bad as or as a big of an adjustment as it would have been for my parents. And I have to, take my hat off to them because they did a tremendous job. Adjusting and obviously bringing us here. We're forever thankful.
Yeah, look, I can agree with them. They did. You were right. They did an absolutely tremendous job. I mean, we've had an opportunity to meet through another good friend of ours, and I just been ecstatic about having this interview with you because I'm actually for the first time getting to meet a true inventor. Just kind of give us a little bit of the back history of how you decided to do this because, here you've been through school, you were living in New York, and then all of a sudden one day you guys come up with this great idea, but there's some twists and turns before you got to this point. You want to share a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm honored that you, were interested in my story and interviewing me as well. So it's really great to be on tonight. So it was definitely a very twisty road for us. We started out pursuing a couple of different projects, and product development and inventing specifically came about as a result of this very fluid kind of a process that we went through at the start in crafting our business. Mm-hmm. And, the real drive, I think, behind inventing is really trying to solve a problem. You never really want to go into a product that's in search of bring a product to market that's in search of a market, really. You want to do it the other way around. You kind of want to start with a problem, and that's how Trivae was born. Mm-hmm. We, and by that I mean my sister and my best friend, who's now my business partner, Rebecca. We, all three of us really like to cook, and we've always struggled with the problem of what to do with our lids when we're cooking. So you have a pot on the stove, you have a hot lid on top, you pick it up, it's it's hot, it's messy, you don't really know what to do with it, and mm-hmm. We know that as we are not the only ones that cook, we knew this wasn't the problem that we were the only ones that are struggling with. So we, went in search of a product to try to solve this problem and realized that there really wasn't anything on the market. So we decided to bring it to market ourselves. Mm-hmm. And, that's a very short kind of version of that story, because, of course, there was all the process in between, from original idea to, sketching it on a napkin, going through the development process, the manufacturing mm-hmm. process, the funding process. And, to today, it was a very, very long road and lots of learning curves. And it was a very interesting adventure for us. That's definitely, I would call it that.
I can imagine. Well, I mean, and the idea that you guys came up with, and I know, like I said, we've talked a little bit before, and I know you mentioned a lot about your sister, coming up with some of this idea, but just in cooking in general, I know that's always been an issue for me. Is every time I think about having a pot, I'm like, okay, well, where's my pot holder? Because I can't touch this lid because it's going to burn me, when I pick it up. So having something that, unique, and like I said, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it really is, because if you're any type of person that enjoys cooking, or just because you're cooking for the moment, you if you have a lid, you got a lid. And I've never seen anything, you're right, that's out there that can help you with that problem. But I think, you've told me before that this invention that you have that helps you with the lid, but that does other things as well.
It does, yes. So as part of the design process, at first we started with the lid holder as the basic problem we were trying to solve. Mm-hmm. And then, we also realized that, the kitchen is a very crowded space, and storage space is at a premium. A lot of people don't have a lot of counter space, so they don't, they have a hard time leaving things out. And so as we were going through the design process, we decided to incorporate a feature that would allow this stand to collapse. And because it can collapse and it has heat-resistant silicone, it can also be used as a trivet. So in the collapsed position, mm-hmm. it stores in a drawer, in a standard drawer, and it could be used as a trivet. And then the same feature that allows it to fold up also allows it to unfold fully, so you can use it for your larger casserole dishes, for your cookie sheets, or 2 dishes at one time. Okay. And then the other benefit of the stand, as it's designed to hold the lids, it can also be used as a display stand. So when you're entertaining, you have people over, you might use it as a pizza for pizzas, or you might use it as a cake stand, mm-hmm. or when you have a lot of food out on a table, it kind of helps you maximize serving space. So you can elevate certain things, and the bonus being, of course, that you can also show off some of your culinary creations to your friends. So it's a multifunctional tool, mm-hmm. and it's been one of the interesting things that we've gotten feedback for the product as we've put it out on the market is, people love that it's a multifunctional device. People really these days don't really like things that only do one thing, right? Because it just clutters up their space, and they wind up having to get a lot of tools for various things. And this is one of the things that was a kind of a happy coincidence, I guess, if you will, that we had decided to introduce these other features, as part of the design process, because it wound up being something that made the product that much better.
Right. Yeah, like I said, that's interesting. I'm actually excited to get the opportunity to see it myself and put it to action, because I love to cook. So, having something like that around me on a regular basis would be awesome to have. I wanted to ask you, though, the process of becoming an inventor. Now, we know that it's obviously something that doesn't happen overnight, and you've mentioned that. But what is in a quick, I guess, rundown of the paperwork process that you would have to go through if somebody wanted to be that inventor today? They have this idea. What did it take for you to go through that process?
So I will say it's as you said, definitely not a process that takes place overnight. You don't know what you don't know is really the name of the game, and so you wind up having to learn a lot of things on the fly. So at the very start, as an inventor, you kind of have to see, if you're serious about actually bringing something, if you're serious about bringing a product to market, in terms of, just what is your objective? Do you just want to file for a patent on something that you have an idea about, and then you'd like to pursue, potential licensing, or someone else brings it to market for you and just pays you a royalty? Or do you want to bring the product to market yourself? And obviously, whichever path you choose, if you're serious about pursuing it, then, there are various steps in each of the process, and they're different steps. But at a minimum, you need to decide, is this something that is, number one, you want to do your research. Is there something like that already out there? Because there are so many things that have already been invented, and some things are, really obscure, but you definitely want to do your research, and you want to see what's out there. What's out there in terms of patents, a body of patents, and also what's out there in terms of products that are out on the market. And then if you feel like there's, your product falls outside of whatever it is that's already out there, then, you know that you might have something that's, that's worth pursuing. Mm-hmm. And, again, it just depends on where you are, what your goals are. And then you just kind of go from there. There's a process for filing patents. There's a process for designing. There's a process for manufacturing. There's a process for funding. And, we went through all these steps as part of bringing Trivae to market. And unless this is something that is, your area of expertise going into it, mm-hmm. It winds up being a steep learning curve for each step of the process that you have to figure out, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I can imagine, because you just named what about 4, 5, 6 steps,
yes.
Just in that process. And
right. Yes.
and the reason why I'm kind of focusing on this is, I think, is that it's really important for people to understand, especially our listeners, that, like you said, inventing something is very extreme to some degree. It's not just like, hey, I have a passion, I have an idea, and I want to go ahead and just open up a business. It's a much bigger and broader step than that. So I just think it's so important that people have a quick understanding of how all this would work. And, are you involved like with any other groups? Were there other people that you collaborated with in order to just get that true feeling of, hey, this is what we really want to do, and we're going to move forward with this beyond just doing the paperwork process of that?
Absolutely. I think, for me, one of the key things in this process has been, having a sounding board, for each step of the process. So you definitely want to surround yourself with people who can help you along. And by help you along, I don't necessarily mean help you with the process, but at least help to motivate you and support you, when there's highs and lows in this process. So you definitely want to have if you can, have a network of people who are either going through the same things or, just kind of help you along the way. Mm-hmm. So for me, that wound up being, my business partner. Obviously, I have a great family, so they've been tremendous in this process for me as well. I also joined an inventor group in my local area, and I would highly recommend for anybody who's interested in going down this road to seek out an inventor group in their local area, because they're, nine times out of 10 there will be something in the local area, and it's great to belong to an inventor club because there's all sorts of resources available through that. There's interesting speakers depending on how the club is structured. There's also people that are going through the same things. So you will definitely learn a lot about the process, and you'll have people to encourage you and motivate you as you go through it, and, go through it with you as well.
Right.
So it's very important. A support network, whatever it is very important in this process.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that would be with any, process of business. It's always, important to have the team that surrounds you, like you said, those people there to do the ups and the downs with you, and just even understanding what it is you're trying to do to improve your business or to grow or even just to get started. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, absolutely. I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. Yes. You have to excuse me. Sometimes I just jump right on in there. So.
No worries.
But another quick question. I mean, it's obvious that, it's taken, several years to get this process, but talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've gone through or even still going through as, the product is out there and you're trying to get people interested into this product.
So, as I mentioned through, in some of the previous points that I was making, I think part of the challenge is, I think, the process itself. And so, there are ups and downs in the development process. There's setbacks through the design. There's setbacks in the manufacturing process as well. And, each step in this process has its own challenges. And the trick, and I think, the key to persevering is to find the motivation and be able to continue to motivate yourself to keep going through the process when there are challenges and setbacks. So a lot of it is intrinsic, I think. But then there are also, which is why I also mentioned the support network, when you cannot find the intrinsic motivation, which happens because a lot of the process sort of happens in a vacuum. You go out, you get the market feedback. You might go to trade shows. There's those parts of the process which help you to assess where you are and the potential for your product. But the rest of the process, until you actually bring it to market, kind of happens in a vacuum. So you're in this bubble where you're designing, you're manufacturing, you're patenting, you're just going through this whole thing. And when you're not getting a lot of external feedback, it's difficult to continue to feel like there's something that's worth pursuing and worth going through. And so you have to find the motivation to keep going until you get to the point where, you have a product to show people.
Right.
So I think a lot of that process is a challenge. So that's why, like I said, having the support network is very important. Surrounding yourself with people who are, at various parts of that same process. It's just, and people that you can relate to is really important as well. And then just, there are also lots of resources in, the small business organization or the small business association, I should say. And there are lots of resources that you'd be surprised are in your local community. And you just, it's just as simple sometimes as doing a search to find out what services there are to help you through various parts of the process.
Right. And I agree with that. The key is research, look for things that like you said, in order to help you get through the process. And I think a lot of times people are so willing to not take those extra steps, to get to where they want to get to, because everybody wants an easy fix. And no matter what type of business that you're going in, we all know that's not always the case. Things take time, and you have to have that patience and that diligence to want to make that business work. And I definitely, can understand that with becoming an inventor, that is 3 times more of a process to get through, because you have a very tangible item sitting in front of you, and it is going to work or it's not going to work. So it's really important that you definitely have that support system on your side.
And external feedback, I should say, that's really important as well. I think a lot of inventors fall into the trap of sitting on their invention for too long without getting feedback to really understand whether or not there is a market for the product that you are working on. They get so scared of revealing what their idea is that because somebody's going to steal it, that they wind up never revealing it. And that's also a mistake, because, you don't want to spend too many years kind of going down a path that, a quick search or some quick feedback would have revealed might not have been worth it for one reason or another. So, you want to kind of balance keeping things under wraps until it's ready and, you're in the right stage of the patent process. in order to reveal your idea to what you would consider an open forum, the public.
Okay.
And not revealing it, not revealing it too soon, but also not waiting too long to reveal it.
Okay.
So that you can get the valuable feedback in order to decide which way you need to proceed. So those are definitely very important things to keep in mind as well.
Okay. Wow. Well, boy, this has been excellent. The one thing I wanted to ask you, though, is, there are obviously many other women who are probably listening to you right now. And if you had one good piece of advice that you would give any woman who wants to go into business, what would that advice be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel like there are so many, so many pieces of advice that would be valuable that I wish somebody had given me when I was just starting out. But I think one of the things I learned is in this process is, there's so much that's happening as a small business owner. You wind up wearing a lot of hats. You do a lot of the things that in bigger companies are, traditionally segregated into separate jobs and separate roles. But as a small business owner, you do everything. You do everything that needs to be done. And a lot of times I think you get sort of trapped in that cycle of the daily things that you need to accomplish, that you sometimes don't take a step back and think like, are the things that I'm working on, are they driving my business forward? And I think that's the big thing, is to keep yourself organized enough and get out of the weeds often enough so that you can check in and see, where's my business? Where am I going with it? What's my goal? And am I moving towards my goal actively? And when you do that, I think that you wind up driving your business forward. So, decide what the big things are that need to happen and check in with yourself periodically and make sure you're working towards those things. So if you can do just one thing per day to drive your business forward, and it's not, sometimes it's not answering an email or, doing a little bit of your accounting or, a lot of the smaller tasks that are essential, but they don't really drive your business forward. So think of the things that drive your business forward and make sure you do at least one thing a day that does accomplish that. So I think that's what I would, that one of the big things that I learned, I think that are really valuable and really important to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, I've learned something tonight. So, that was well said, my dear. Very, very good. Wow. Very, very good. So how can the listeners get a hold of you? So they can check out our website, trivae.com. So it's www.trivae.com, and there's a contact form there. So if anybody would like to reach out to me, please, by all means, I'd love to hear from you. All right, awesome. And then, of course, we'd love to have you on the Women's Small Business Initiative group, so you can also reach out to her there. So it would be a great honor to, to continue to get some of your great feedback and just the information that you provided tonight has just been valuable. So I'm sure there's going to be some other young lady out there or who's going to say, yeah, this is what I want to do. And now I have, somebody I can possibly contact and reach out to them. So it would be great to be able to have you, available for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help. I'm always happy to guide someone else who is, thinking about the process and starting out. I'm very thankful to some of the people in this process who have been valuable to me, invaluable, I should say, and mentors that I've been lucky enough to develop that have helped me along the process. And I'm happy to help and answer any questions for any woman that's going through similar things and, wants to know more. So anytime.
Well, we appreciate that. And again, I truly, truly want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come on this evening and share your story, because it has been one of the most interesting opportunities that I've had to date, doing an interview, and I appreciate it. And if you have anything else you'd like to say to the listeners before we clock off, that would be great.
Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed speaking with you both today and on the other occasions that we've had a chance to meet and chat. I always enjoy it. And, as I said, if you're anybody who is thinking about inventorship, entrepreneurship, small business ownership, all the ships, just just don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help or advise or, just be a sounding board. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help, and give back. So, anytime, just give me a shout.
Awesome. Alrighty then. Again, like I said, thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your story. For everyone else, good night, everyone. We will be back. I'm here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. You can find me at WSBI website at www.wsbillc.com. You can also find me at Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening.